Hello, this is Johnny Cycles with CyclesGaming.com, bringing you another edition of Dragons in Modern. I'm going to keep this. I have the one land and a whole bunch of action, including Ragavan and Tiny Bones, and a lightning bolt to hopefully clear the way. So we will start with... Should we start with the Thoughtseize? Or should we start with the Ragavan? So I've started before with Ragavan and then regretted it because they had a bolt. So we start with the Thoughtseize, Drown on the Lock, and a Fatal Push. An Ornithopter. Oh well. Doesn't look like we're going to be getting many hits in. So there's a... I think the whole point of Thoughtseizing with Tiny Bones is something like you get to cast the spell that you take out of their hand, but if your Tiny Bones doesn't survive the hit, or it doesn't survive through combat to get a hit in, then you can't take that spell, so we have to take the removal spell. They have Drown on the Lock. Now we're going to play an Ornithopter, which we can kill. So Affinity. Land would be great. Strike it rich. Alright. What is better? Drown on the Lock is going to kill something. We're missing our land drops, so that's going to be a problem. They're going to have Drown on the Lock mana. If we draw a land, we can cast Ragavan and have him counter it probably, then bolt the Ornithopter, swing in with Tiny Bones, then take the Ornithopter. Just living a very big dream, right? Ornithopter, 0-2, land. Okay, well, fair enough. It is a land. It happens to be a Field of Ruin, though. So we have ways to make treasures. We can Charm and Scoundrel, make this into a 2-2. They'll probably just counter it, though. Or we can Charm and Scoundrel and get a counter. I think first we're going to go to combat. Because who wants to block a Tiny Bones? Nobody. Maybe they'll kill it with a Drown on the Lock. Oh, Bowmasters. That's fine. That was a good draw for our opponent. Okay. Sad face. Well, we can now cast Ragavan into this wall of blockers. We can Charming Scoundrel and start our treasure token production, because that might be our only way. These are tough questions. We could have discarded the Strike It Rich to draw a card and try to make a land drop. We could have made it bigger to get it out of Bowmaster range. Alright, so that was a really good draw for them. Ninjutsu. You may draw a card if you do discard a card unless a Moon Circuit hacker entered the battlefield this turn. Okay, well, we're behind on resources, land, cards. Not quite on cards, but with no great way of catching up right now. However, and they have Drown on the Lock mana. So we still need to make a land drop. And it's an awkward one because it's a basic swamp and we have a handful of red sources, so we could take a turn off to blow up one of these non-basic lands. Ragavan will just get drown on the lock. Strike it rich. Alright. Yeah. Alright, I'm just not happy where we're at. Missing land drops. Missing the one land drop into the sequencing here of what our opponent's drawn and what we've drawn with the color restrictions in the lands we have drawn. Plus Bowmasters on a turn where we were hoping to at least maybe get in another Bowmasters. Yeah, sometimes you just, I don't even know what to do at this point. Do we lightning bolt the Orcish army? Sometimes you lose to Bowmasters. You can't keep up with all that value. They still have the drown on the lock, so that was probably would have been an opportunity to destroy a land and lightning bolt this ninjutsu dude. But go after the watery grave, not that it matters. They have all their manas and a fetch land. So while we were waiting, do we want to bring in a card like Blood Moon? It's just a Dimir deck. They have a lot of basics, I'm sure. Looking at their current board state, they do not have very many basics, but I think Blood Moon would be good against like their current land situation before we destroyed a land with Field of Ruin. But I think that's just too greedy of a sideboard hate piece when we have things like Drown and Locked protected. When we have things like Brotherhood's End to bring in, maybe Inquisition would be pretty good in this matchup. Alright, Dimir ninjas. I mean, I'm getting totally crushed right now, but holy cow, this is a sweet looking deck. Who doesn't like ninjas? How can you not like ninjas? I don't even want to show them our Magda package. Although they've been around the internets, they know that Charming Scoundrel is probably a facilitator of Magda. I think I just think it's a Rakdos jank deck. Alright, we'll go to game number 2. On this early Sunday morning, while my kids are still asleep, getting some games in. Alright, so Brotherhood's End. Inquisition can be brought in, but what do we want to take out? I mean, none of our removal from the sideboard is instant speed. Alright, we'll bring in the Inquisitions. They're new to the sideboard for me, and I want to see how they play. Molten Collapse can be brought in to handle any sort of giant creature, but so far we just saw a bunch of ninjas. None of which lived through a revolted fatal push. So maybe take out one Bobble. Tiny Bones and Ragavan are not at their best. I'm gonna go get another cup of coffee. I'll be right back. We played Affinity a lot. Oh, I'm missing a card. Okay. Took out one. 3 Brotherhoods in. Oh, I see. So we can bring back in the Tiny Bones or bring in a single Molten Collapse. How about that? But this isn't really Affinity. It's really Ninjutsu deck. Ninja deck. So I'm not so sure how good Brotherhood's in is going to be against them. Double Field of Ruin hand. Alright, so the luck in our opening 7 is not with us this morning in our first match. This one is looking better. With 3 lands and our 1-drop package here. We will get rid of Verdant Catacombs. So yeah, it was my youngest son's 2-year birthday. Second birthday, I think, is how most Americans say that. Yesterday. That was pretty fun. He's very cute. Lots of toys. Family in town. Kids stayed up late. And you hope as a parent that that means they'll sleep in, but if you are a parent, you probably know how often that actually happens. Kids who stay up late tend to wake up earlier the next day. But so far everyone's asleep. Alright, we hit another land, which is not really what we want at this point. We would like no more lands almost for the next couple turns, I would say. Ragavan's probably going to get Fatal Pushed. Ornithopter. Okay. Do we dare Fatal Push an Ornithopter? When they have all those, we know they have a ninja in hand, right? Alright, so they went with the block. So then we can run out Tiny Bones, I think. Not dead after all. Just Fatal Push the Ornithopter. Almost just passed through my Strike-It Ridge. Oh wait, I'm also not smart. The clicking, I almost passed through and then I didn't click enough. Okay, Strike-It Ridge. Start the treasure production. And pass the turn. Alright, well maybe that will slow down their game plan without an Ornithopter. They obviously really wanted that Ornithopter if they had a not dead after all that they were going to cast. Clearly for the ninja, but now they just get to play a ninja. Yeah, our removal may not be able to keep up with what they're doing given that we are out of removal and a grief. Interesting Dimir build from our opponent here. A ninja theme but with a lot of traditional scam shenanigans, which if you've seen any of my videos you know that my Amulet Dinos deck, for instance, is a shell of a Primeval Titan deck, but with dinosaurs at the top end. Here, I don't even know what I would say this is. It's not Affinity the way it seemed at first. It's just Ornithopters because they're 0-2. They can cast them on turn 1 as a 0 and they're flyers, and you can make them into ninjas. Well, Molten Collapse is a good draw for us. And our opponent's down to 2 cards, and we know what one of them is. Do they also have some sort of subtlety action? No. So getting in a Ragavan hit is big for us because Obviously, we have nothing in hand. Getting a treasure token to help with our Magda, seeing what we can steal from our opponent. It is a changeling outcast. I guess we will cast that because why not? See, we know they got the 2/1 over there. What did they draw with 3 cards? Did they get a Bowmasters? That was a big blowout for us last game. Man, we'd love to see a Decadent Dragon. Strike it rich, number 2. Well, Ragavan, you've done something. You will probably die now. And if you don't, then... Hey, they took it. Maybe we'll hit a Fatal Push off of the top of our opponent's deck. They must really want this ninja to catch back up by drawing cards. Maybe they have a Bowmasters. Holy cow. Now what is it? Now you know what it's like, opponent. Oh man. We've gotten lucky. I mean, this one is not obviously the greatest. And wait, okay, it's a changeling, so it grows. Interesting. Nice. I see your synergies. Leoalgum. Very nice indeed. Okay, so very lucky off the top. We're managing to cobble together this game with some Ragavans in our opponent's cards. And a timely removal spell with Molten Collapse. And the Ornithopter is our last card. Man, a Magda would be sweet. Magda. Field of Ruin. This is just a 1/1. Well, we're going to swing in with everybody. Because we can't block anyway. So they're setting up for a ninja turn if they can draw one, assuming they take a hit here, which their strategy seems to be make ninjas, so yeah, they're going to probably take another hit. Grief. Opponent, just giving us all your best cards. This Ragavan is just running away with this game. Our entire battlefield is Ragavan generated, and this is why Ragavan is such a busted card and can win you a game all by itself. Granted, we've gotten extraordinarily lucky off the top. Our opponent's probably not the happiest, I would say. Alright, so opponent kind of had it all last game with their blowouts of Orcish Bowmasters and kill spells and ninjas, and now they're finally going to answer our Ragavan. Oh man, and the damage has been done though. And then we got to just go off with our Ragavan, with the Ragavan, and do all kinds of busted things with our opponent's cards. So they're still hanging in there, refusing to block with this Ornithopter, hoping to draw into a ninja. We drew into a Field of Ruin. Alright, well the Lightning Bolt hopefully will be enough, and we could have made more treasure tokens this whole time with Strike It Rich. But at this point I think the game is over. Orcish Bowmasters, maybe not. Maybe not. I'm going to kill that Orcish Bowmasters. we can... So if they're going to kill this Orcish Bowmaster, this guy is unblockable, right? Alright, so they're going to go to 3 no matter what. I'll let them double... They'll probably double block the Grief. Yep. So the opponent stuck it out. I mean, and rightfully so, because they have a play here that keeps them alive. Even though the writing felt like it was on the wall there, they managed to draw something to keep them in it. Okay, so got there on the back of our opponent's cards. We see how powerful Orcish Bowmasters is. Could have made a couple more treasure tokens along the way, but didn't feel the need. Let's see what we want to do. Anything different. I mean, we saw the power of maybe Molten Collapse is worth it in the right spot. Granted, we were on the play, so we were kind of ahead there. Running like that. Just having more removal to answer some of what they're doing, especially if we can get them in a position where they are tapped out to cast it and they only have one threat that needs to be killed. So we can keep the board clean and our opponent on the back foot. But being on the draw, our opponent should be on the front foot and we should be on the back foot. Let's hope for a good 7. We would love to see like 2 lands, multiple interaction spells, like Lightning Bolt, Fatal Push. Alright, well there's the 2 Fatal Pushes. And there is a Tiny Bones, but we don't have a second land. But we do have, I'm going to keep it, 4 removal spells, including our sweeper. We just need to draw lands, and we're only playing 20 lands, which I feel like is pretty greedy. But when you look at the modern decks out there, a lot of decks aren't playing the number of lands I think they should. So we'll see if we get punished or not. Is our opponent mulliganing? They are. Right, well, at least we have a bit of a resistant hand to Grief, if that's what they're looking for. So we'd love to hit a land here. Our opponent's getting off to their quick start. Lightning Bolt. More removal. Do we Fatal Push or Lightning Bolt? Just try to keep the board clean. They're at 4, going to 5. Probably looks like Bowmaster man out of me. Alright, land. Land would be good. Well, we might as well run out of target for Bowmasters here. Or they could drown and lock. Who knows? They mulligan, so maybe they don't have it all. I mean, Bowmasters can definitely run away with the game, just as that 3 for 1. Here, let me kill your creature, get 2 creatures of my own. Yeah, and that's a really good card against us. Do they have more Bowmasters? Do they have ninjas? They probably have ninjas. Yep. Missing that land there. So a land we could theoretically kill something that they turn into a ninja here. Okay. So we still want to hit a land. And they have a Not Dead After All mana up, so I definitely want to land off the top. It's kind of what we want to draw the rest of the game. So we could go for the Molten Collapse and risk the Not Dead After All. So Zenojutsu, they return the creature to their hand, huh? Man, that's so powerful for our opponent. No, that's a sweet little... I'm starting to see it now, even further into the deck. That's a really sweet Synergy with Bowmasters. Just so much value out of the Bowmasters that way. Now we could run out a Ragavan into just death. Ninjutsu, I guess, it's after you've the blocker, so I think I just want to bolt this now. It might not be the right play, but our quest to keep the board clean, and they have counter magic and not dead after all, so do it while they're tapped down. This turn, we got the land, so we could run on a Tiny Bones or dash in a Ragavan, or both. And see what our opponent gets up to. We could also just try to... It looks like they have Bowmaster mana, to be honest. Which is bad for us. Let's see what happens. They must have some. I mean, if they have another Bowmasters, I'm going to be highly annoyed. Let's just put it that way. I mean, I get it. Okay, fine. Fatal Push or Draw on the Lock. There you go. Yeah, I mean, that's acceptable, but the double Bowmasters draw again. They've already cast the same one twice. I don't even know if I want to commit this Tiny Bones to the battlefield. They do have... It's our only threat, and we kind of want to see if they put anything else out there with this. We do have a Molten Collapse, though, and they have 2 cards. Let's see what their last 2 cards, or 3 cards will be. So we have a way to answer a ninja next turn with a sorcery. Or we have a way to sweep, including our Tiny Bones, unfortunately, if they just vomit out their hand right here. But it's almost worth losing a Tiny Bones if they do that. They're going to get in. That is fine. We'll take the hit, and then that means they probably have an answer for Tiny Bones, but we still wouldn't mind seeing like Expensive Tastes, just as an instant speed, a Ragavan. Alright, what do they have in the graveyard that we can cast? Changeling Outcast, this thing. I kind of want to dash in the Ragavan this turn. The Battle of the Little Creatures is what this feels like. So assuming our opponent has another kill spell, and they're having to decide which one to kill. It's a tough choice. You kill the Ragavan, that's the obvious upside, but then we get something from the yard. If you kill the Tiny Bones, we get the treasure. Returning the Ragavan to our hand. Okay. What do we want to take? Changeling Outcast. Get the Changeling Outcast. We can start blocking this Orcish army if they so choose to attack, and make sure they don't get any ninjutsu nonsense. Surveilling. Looking and digging for something to kill one of our creatures. Put it on top. That's not good for us. It's just a ninja that can block, or that can, yeah, that can profitably block one of our creatures. So now, yeah, they're not going to attack. We would love just another lightning, like another 1-mana kill spell. Bolt or Fatal Push to clear the way. Although we wouldn't get the value we would like out of this. Hoardmaster. Alright, so what we could Brotherhood's End right now. Wipe away the board. Set up for Ragavan hits next turn. Our opponent clearly does not have a lot going on. We could also just continue to punch in damage. We could Molten Collapse, the Orcish Army token. They're going to block here. I mean, there's almost... No, they won't. They'll block here. So we'll need to Molten Collapse the Army token. What's in our opponent? What can we cast from our... I think we just go ahead and swing in with everybody. See what they do. I'm assuming they'll block there, yeah, and then they'll take the 1 and they have their ninja still. It's their last card, a counterspell. Okay, well, we were going to get blown out by the Brotherhood's End then. Play the Ragavan that they know about. Alright, so they're empty-handed. We have some things. Do we take a hit off of this ninja? No, they don't want to cast it. Another Magda. Alright, well, this is not dead after all. Okay, fine. Do we pull the trigger on this Magda? Well, since we have 2, I think it's okay to cast 1. We can block and kill that one. And then, or kill their ninja still. The risk is that they get a removal spell and then start chaining together things. Hopefully they did not draw another not dead after all. I don't know if it'd still be a 3-2 at least, but... Alright, I think we take a damage there. I have 1 card in hand, and it is a Changeling Outcast. So that's a clock. We each have a 1-turn clock. Oh man, Lightning Bolt, Fatal Push, Inquisition, right on time. Right on time. Man, do we just want to keep the board clear with this Brotherhood's End? I mean, we can Magda and Inquisition just to get the treasure token. We don't have any Strike at Riches in the graveyard. Do we risk them drawing a ninja and going off and losing our only removal spell? and our only threat. They have a deck full of ninjas, I'm sure, that they're waiting to draw. I think we're just gonna risk it. Keep the board clean. We can't block that. That's their ninja shenanigan package. Next turn we Magda, Inquisition, get a treasure, or see what we draw. It was a ninja, and it was their best ninja. It is one of their best ninjas. Okay, well, we managed to dodge them putting this onto the battlefield. So that's something. Lightning bolt. Field of Ruin. Probably should have done that different, but we're going to be empty-handed here in a second. We could save. We might as well save the Inquisition. It could be a counterspell, right? They're going to get to draw an extra card and put a clock on us, so they'll have a card that we could maybe take next turn. Do we just block and keep them and try to keep them empty-handed? I think we just take the hit and hope that we draw an answer. What an interesting game. It's been a kind of a top deck war for a while. We could have held on to that Brotherhood's End for another turn. Grief. Alright. Well, there goes the Inquisition, and there goes our life total, unless we draw Brotherhood's End right now. Drawing extra cards is a good way of winning the game. Okay, well, there is a Lightning Bolt. They have not dead mana. I wonder if they actually drew one of those. That would be frustrating. They did not. Okay. No, that's good. No fear. Extra card opponents. Yeah, I mean, drawing extra cards every turn, like I said, a great way to win Magic. We could have held on to that Brotherhood's End for another turn. They would have gotten a hit in with the ninjutsu anyway, and then we would have been able to sweep the board of those two, and then they would have had grief. So it might have been maybe we should not have played. I mean, they had to top deck that ninja off to have this happen right now, but so good on opponent for winning the top deck war there. We'll see if we can come back with the top deck. Another grief. Wow, opponent's running real hot. All right, Brotherhood's End off the top, please. That would be really nice. Because otherwise we're dead. At least we have ways to trigger a revolt on this if we draw a fatal push. Thoughtseize. Well, all right. Interesting back and forth, long grindy game. You see we played a lot of removal, multiple lightning bolts, multiple fatal pushes, a Brotherhood's End, a Molten Collapse, and we still couldn't keep up with all of what our opponent was doing, either because of, I mean, they played a lot less removal, so we had a lot less threats. If we'd had a handful of threats and less removal, who knows? It was just they ended up drawing into more threats than we did, and had a couple of their janky keep things alive deck, our cards, or maybe just the one not dead after all. But yeah, so they won the top deck war. They won the grindy war. Fun grindy match. See if I can get another one in before my kids wake up. But for CyclesGaming.com, this is Johnny Cycles. I'll catch y'all on the next one. This has been another edition of Dragons in Modern. This is Johnny Cycles with CyclesGaming.com. If you haven't already, check out my website where you can read about my commander decks, my modern jank, and my science fiction novel that I'm publishing serially. Click that like button or the subscribe button on YouTube. Everybody counts. For CyclesGaming.com, this is Johnny Cycles. I'll catch y'all in the next one.